I'd like to call the meeting of the Dairy Conservation Commission, May 19th, 2025 to order. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As a reminder, in case of emergency, please do not use the elevators. There's an exit to the back of the room and to my right. If you need assistance, stay in your seat and one of us will assist you out. I'd ask everybody on the commission and in the audience to silence their cell phones. And I'd like to introduce everybody, starting on my right with Jay.
Jay Hildreth.
Grace Freisdorf.
Bob Sproul.
Eileen Chabot, good evening.
Elizabeth Carver.
And Rick Metz, I'm the vice chair. First of all, we have 3 sets of minutes to approve. I'd like to take up the minutes of April 14th, 2025, the Jewel Road site walk. I have a couple corrections I'd like to enter in. And Jay, is it okay if Tammy makes those corrections?
Please do.
Okay. First of all, we met with a surveyor's representative from Promised Land Survey. I don't believe anybody,
Yeah, it wasn't.
I think his
Mike
name was
Delacorte,
Brian.
Mike?
I
I don't remember the guy's name.
as
Do you?
long as we put a representative of Promised Land Survey, I think we're covered for that.
Yeah.
So down in the middle of the page, we debated what to do, and the Promised Land Survey representative knocked on the door of owner who abuts the conservation, so that's a second change. And in the last paragraph, third sentence, along 200 or more feet, not feet. And those are the corrections I came across. Are there any others from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes as amended.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and approved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Second set of minutes, meeting of May 5th, 2025. Is that the one we had the sound issue, or is that the? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, let's do the 21st, I'm sorry. I got mine all mixed up here. I'm new to this chair thing.
On this commission.
On this commission, yeah. We had an audio issue, I believe, from that one, but the only correction I had was under motion to approve up to 3,500. I believe the number was 350 to till the public gardens. If he got 3,500 for that, he,
Right.
but
I would have done it.
other than that, I believe that is the only correction I saw. Any others from the commission?
Yeah, there were a couple of others that I think Tammy's already caught.
Okay.
One was under Chair's report. Instead of like the Celtics, it's SELT, Southeastern Land Trust. And then under Land Manager Report, the third line down, it says L CHIP, EL CHIP. It should be capital LCHIP.
Those were on the 5th.
Okay, those are on the 5th.
21st.
We're still on the 21st. I'm
We're
sorry.
doing the May
I
1st.
changed in midstream
You
because
did?
I'm new at
Oh,
this,
okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So any other corrections on the 21st?
Oh, I wasn't here on the 21st, so.
Okay. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the 21st as corrected.
Move to approve the minutes of April 21st as corrected.
Second?
Second.
Seconded by Jay. All those in favor?
Abstain?
Aye.
One abstention, because I wasn't.
Not 2 abstentions. I wasn't there.
Nay. 2 abstentions. 3 to 2. Okay, now on to the final set of minutes from May 5th, 2025. So we've noted the 2 corrections to CELT under Chairman's Report, SELT,
Yep,
and LCHIP, LCHIP.
under Land Manager Report.
Yep, under Land Manager Report. Any other corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes as corrected.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of May 5th as corrected. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstained.
Any abstentions?
That would be me.
4-1. Okay. Chair's report. I was able to afford, Eileen sent me a couple interesting programs put on by the state. I was able to forward one to you folks today. I will forward the other one when I get home because I can't do it from my phone. So the first one is, come on. That ain't it. Sorry. I saved these for a reason. First one is on conservation easements, I believe, right? No, that's the second one.
Oh, that's the second one.
That's the one I'll send to you tonight, but since I have it up, it's Conservation Easement Training Series 2025. There's a Zoom meeting on the 21st of this month, 4 to 6, so you don't have to show up for that. There is another one on May 30th in person in Concord at the McLean Audubon Center. You can register for that. And Conservation Easement Monitoring, Wednesday, June 4th, and that's a Zoom meeting. So there's one in attendance, and it also lists several other optional field sessions on the bottom that you can go to, one in Rumney, one in Marlboro, and one in Deerfield. So you might want to take a look at that. And the other one is entitled Beyond Prime Wetlands, Protecting Wetlands and Streams for Your Community. That is a little later from today. It's actually Saturday, June 21st from 10 to 3 in Bow High School. That's the one I sent to you folks today, so you all have a copy of it. Eileen sent these to me to let you folks know tonight if you're interested in doing any of these, that these programs are available. And I believe you're going to plan on doing some of them, right, Eileen?
Yeah, I think
Given- okay.
I think I'm gonna try and attend the, register for the prime wetlands one.
Okay.
It's gonna be really good, I think, and valuable to have. We do quite often get cases, that involve prime wetlands, and so we really need to know, what the latest regulations are on that, so.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think that's all I had. I don't have any correspondence. Personnel, we have none. Nothing to report. We still have Beth, so there's been no vacancies. She's still with us. Jay, Community Garden, do you have an update?
Yes, well, the plans to do the tilling that Beth worked so hard to procure someone to do it, well, the weather has a way of controlling things, and simply the weather is not up to what a gardener or a farmer would want to do right now. The soil is too wet, and so we've put it off. Beth was very wise to make it not just 1 week, but 2 weeks, because look at today, and the forecast is just, spring is not ready to be summer
It's like winter out there.
at all.
It's like winter, like 37.
And
I got in my
chill
car and I put
today.
it on hot.
I confirmed that by going, when I went to Blue Seal and talked to the manager there, that, yeah, we didn't get plants in for our homeowners, no, anyone that has done that, they've lost out. It's just one of those years. So in 2 weeks, I'm sure it's going to turn around. And meanwhile, I identified that, and Beth confirmed that there's 2 handicap beds there that I just imagine not wanting to look at that all summer long being full of weeds because nobody had picked up on the on that reservation on those 2 plots. So I came up with an idea of tilling it, and had a lot of heavy weeds tilling it. I did 1 bed this Saturday. I noted some things about those 2 beds, that they were supported by 2x4s at the top. Half of them have fallen off. They didn't put long enough screws down into it. There's some warping of the boards on the side. It really does need some fixing. Happened to have been a Boy Scout event there, which the Boy Scout troop leader admitted that it was poor attendance and all of the event planning that they had for bounce houses was postponed because of the weather for them, so. But I mentioned to him about the, what I was doing, and he said that this could be a project for a Boy Scout. So, corresponding with Beth today, what I've decided is I'll take those boards that are on the ground and put them back in and put longer screws, but we need to do another fix on that, and they'll be fine for a very long time. And it's simply taking, if I took a 2x4x8s, which I got an estimate from Benson's that they're $8.11 a piece, so it'd be a $40.55 project. Just, it needs to be reinforced at the sides, underneath and by the top, so that there's something to catch, so that probably someone, I have to partially remove some of the soil. So I'd rather do that at the other end of the season, growing season, and I'll contact the Boy Scouts and see if I can get a couple of scouts to help with that project. Meanwhile, for this summer, we'll enjoy seeing some plantings, some herbs and flowers in those two beds.
Thanks, Jay. Do you want a motion to approve that purchase tonight? Are you going to wait, or what?
I'm quite sure about that purchase.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if the scouts would normally procure money for that at the, do the scouts like to teach their young men to go through a project planning? So maybe I'll put that off.
Okay. And if it comes to, we haven't had a meeting to get it approved, you go ahead and purchase it. I'm pretty sure that we'll pay you back.
Yeah, if
So
you
Okay.
just bring
that
in
won't
the
be a problem.
receipts and
Yeah.
We'll vote on it.
State compliance, Eileen, you have anything?
I don't have any updates tonight.
Okay. Mr. Bazanger's not here. Bob, land maintenance?
Beth and I went out again to look at the trail situation, and it's wet.
It's wet.
Big puddles on the trails, and, but the good news is we've got a plan. We were talking about doing a project this past Saturday, but because of the threat of rain, thunder showers, and other reasons, we're gonna plan it a different day, so we'll get out there. That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you, sir. Reporting compliance, we have no report, nobody's there. TRC, that's me. We will be having the Grindhouse project, which is going on Crystal Ave behind the Gibbs Station. They will be presenting, I believe, our next meeting in June. The plans came before you a couple years ago, and you approved them with a site walk and all of that, but the plans have now changed to a different building setup, different principles. One same principle, one principle dropped out. And so Chair Bazanga mentioned it to me, and he says, do you think it's a good idea to come back to us? I said, yeah, because all of it's changed. Missed the TRC for this, because I was away. So I'd really like to see the plans, and I'm sure you guys, you saw the old plans, and the new plans are a little different. The property that's going on is the same, so maybe a site walk's not needed, but at least an explanation of what's changed from the old to the new. So that will be at our next meeting. Public outreach, Ms. Grace.
Is this the time to bring up our possible land steward? Yeah.
We can, sure.
Or is that something you want to do, Beth?
I guess that would be up to the chair, yeah? If you want
Yeah,
to
go.
wait till the
Are you-
end, or?
Are you ready to do it? She can do it?
Well, I can
It's a
say
joint
that Beth
project.
found really great information that we were looking for, so we're going to get that.
I'm happy to cover it in my report if that's
Okay.
better for
Okay.
you.
Yeah, we'll
Grace?
put it
Okay.
under,
Yeah.
Good,
Put it under
okay,
the
then I'm
land
going to
manager.
leave it for the.
leave it at that? All right.
Leave it for the boss down there.
So without further ado, Beth, you're up with the land manager report.
All right, here we go. All plugged in this time, so hopefully it'll be a smoother start. this on? Yes, okay.
Thinking it'll come up with- Maybe not.
I always forget where, because it's not set up like logically where the screen would be, like come in from the side. Okay, so Jay talked about some of this stuff with the community garden. So let's see, it was the Monday before it was scheduled to be tilled this past Friday, so 1 week ago. I did visit the site, and just one thing of note that I didn't hear Jay mention is that I did reach out to a soils scientist at the University of New Hampshire Extension Office, just to confirm that yes, the soil is too wet to till, in fact, and that it would cause irreparable damage. I did the soil test, which is kind of nifty. If anybody's interested, you pick up like a scoop of soil, you form it into a ball, and then you drop it. And if it breaks apart and like crumbles apart when it hits the ground, then it's dry enough to till. And if it kind of stays in a ball, then it's too wet to till. Because basically that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna stay in a ball. Like if you were to till it, it'll stay in a ball. And if you've ever experienced having to like break up clods of dirt, that's what would end up happening if you
So
were
it's
to
very
till it.
scientific.
Yes, it's very scientific, right? Yeah. I have a receipt for you, Eileen, but I did purchase stakes and string, which I didn't think of at the time that we approved the amount, but I realized that we need string to actually like put between the stakes. So I got that, so it was a little over 70, but I have the receipt for that. And I don't think that generally.
We should probably take another vote then to make sure.
Yeah. Do you want, I can just give you the receipt right now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So my goal is to be able to reuse this string also. Instead of getting like yarn or something, I got construction people use to like, you know.
Oh, snap a line tape?
Yes, thank
line-
you.
Mason
Yes.
line.
Yeah,
Mason
a
line,
mason line, thank you. Yes, that's exactly right. So we have that, and hopefully we'll be able to market, so it'll be even easier next year. The tilling is scheduled to take place on May 30th, which is a Friday. Unfortunately, we did have 2 people who canceled their plot reservation today, saying that it's gonna be too late. They're sisters, and they reserved like 2 together. And one of them's gonna be traveling out of the country, and so it just didn't work out. So we have, sorry.
Oh.
This is when I need to remember to just give it a little jiggle once in a while. Okay. And I wanted to make sure that I'm clear on, because we won't be meeting again before the soil is before NOAA comes out to till. And we had mentioned, or Eileen, you had mentioned, like having a map for NOAA when he comes to till, so that we can verify the brush hogging. And I guess because we would probably want to like if I just show him a map, it won't necessarily translate to like, okay, like what plants are, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I guess I just want to make sure that we're verifying exactly where he's tilling and why, and like where that threshold
Right,
is.
exactly. That was one of the questions I had.
Yeah. So one thought that I had was to use that GPS tracker and like just like physically walk the line maybe, but then I feel like he might need some stakes or like something so that he
Or
knows.
flagging or something,
You know
yes.
what I mean? I mean, I guess if he and I walk it, or if I walk, or maybe if you and I, or someone who knows what they're
Yeah, I'd
looking
be
for.
happy to walk it with you.
Yeah, if we walk the perimeter so that we know, and then I can put a pin drop, and then I can translate that pin drop, and we can maybe use the stakes from, like, that we put at the community garden ahead of his brush hogging, so
Right.
that he knows where to do it. If that-
Surveyor's tape might be helpful.
Say that again?
Surveyor's tape? might be helpful.
Okay.
And you can just tie it on.
Pink tape there?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, on the edge.
That really
Oh.
would stand out so that, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, as far as the plant type, mostly sumac would be, I would think sumac would be the #1 target. It's
To-
the transitional plant that, help to cut that back.
To define the edge and
Yeah.
sort of cut in
Yeah,
a
it's
certain
growing on
amount.
all the edges.
Okay.
Very, definitely on the southern end.
Mm-hmm.
And I know on the southeastern end too, and the middle eastern end.
Yeah,
It's a lot of tall sumac.
yeah, that started to grow up. I noticed something with thorns also, like on the very,
There's blackberries, a lot of
Mhm.
blackberries too.
yeah. Well, yes, if Eileen, if you were willing to walk that with me, then that would be great. We can do it that way. Okay. So the Saturday following the tilling, we're gonna make a fun little event. So we're asking the community gardeners to actually help with the staking. So originally, we had floated asking the Boy Scouts to come help with the staking, which I may still reach out to them if we don't get, a huge response from gardeners. But I think we already got 5 gardeners say that they would like to come help with that process. And the thought was to just kind of make it, take ownership of the community site right from the get-go. And of course, I thought, why not have a plant swap? I mentioned at the last meeting about doing like a build-a-bed workshop, just to kind of show gardeners an easy way to dig their paths and like set them up for success, so that hopefully we get, makes it easier for people to tend their plots and keep the weeds down. And Noah, I did follow up with Noah. He is able to accept an invoice after, or accept payment after, and he can provide an invoice. And then Jay asked if I could show these pictures that he took of the handicap beds that he mentioned earlier. So this is the one that he cleared out already. And yeah, you can see a bit of bowing here. And then this is, I imagine, Jay, I guess I don't have to imagine, but you have to imagine what it looked like before you cleared it out, yeah. So that's kind of, it just, I think Will had said that it had been 2 years since there was like one person who tended those each year, and then she stopped doing it. So it's been a couple years. So it's like perennialized weeds at this point in there. And then here's the other picture that he sent me. Sometimes it doesn't like to click, it just wants me to edit. Here we go. So he's got some herbs. Did you find those herbs around?
I found the lemon thyme in one in the garden.
Cool.
Lots is going to be tilled, so. And then there was a beautiful chive plant.
Yeah.
Very healthy.
Nice. Okay. So that's it that wraps up the community garden. All right, trail map modernization. So we had, I had, Rick wasn't able to make it, but Doug and I had a meeting where really covered trail map modernization, but he showed me around using Civic Plus, which is the program that the town uses to host their website. So now we can update any of our Conservation Commission pages. We can, I can just make the updates as we decide we need them, and we don't have to reach out to anybody else. And I'll go over the trail map suggestions that he made in response to the suggestions that you all made at the last meeting when we reviewed that map. But he just got back to me today about the ArcGIS account for the commission that he believes would enable me to do what I described I would need to do. Would be $250. I wasn't able to confirm if that was a one-time thing or a yearly fee. I assume that it's a yearly fee. But that's how much it would be.
That's not much.
All right. I wish this was mirrored so I could like be looking down here, but I'm always like, ugh. Okay. Where are we? Okay. So I mentioned to Doug what Bob had talked about, the standard difficulty used by the national parks. So he said that he thinks that they're creating a 3D grid with a value assigned to each block in the grid, and that you kind of take whatever grid the trail is passing through and sort of do math to figure that number out. Bob, I know you had mentioned there's like a
Yeah, you
like a
gotta figure-
stroller or something that you.
It's been a while since I had looked at it, so
Yeah.
we need to get more information.
Okay,
Yeah.
will do. Yeah.
Instead of telling somebody it's a very difficult trail, you give them,
A rating.
right, it's, the steepness, maybe they've done it before and they can do it, but maybe it's too narrow to get it through with a chair or a walker or that. You don't tell them what the difficulty is, you just give them the parameters.
Okay. And Doug did mention that he was going to look deeper into how they do that. He suggested, because we talked about maybe having topo would be useful for certain things. And he suggested that the shading, right, there's like a base map that instead of the lines, right, instead of like the topographic lines, it's shaded, so it almost looks like a 3D model, and that might work better because it just makes more visual sense, right? You're looking at it and your brain kind of knows like, oh, okay, like that's raised, that's lower, rather than like the lines. You kind of have to do work to think about what that means.
So when the update to topography available on Granite, if you go under topography and then go down one, there is LiDAR, L-I-D-A-R,
Yeah, that even shows the stone
which
walls,
is
too.
2-foot contours. Much greater detail, and sometimes when you look at it, it makes more sense than 10-foot contours.
Okay.
A lot more detail. And that was done using laser.
Yeah. So do you think that, that would be, like, you would prefer to see something like that
As an
over?
alternate to look at it, to see if it makes more sense
Okay,
when you're doing it. It
okay.
could make the map much
Gotcha.
too busy,
Yep,
but the information is there.
okay, but let's look at both, let's evaluate both before we decide what our standard map looks like,
Yeah.
is what you're saying,
Look-
yeah,
Open it yourself and look at it and see if you think that it would
yep.
make
Okay.
sense.
Great. And so it was mentioned to have multiple pages per property, right? So like a different map depending on what you want to focus on or what your goal is in looking at the map. And Doug mentioned that we would have the ability to like filter those layers digitally. I wasn't able to get super clear on how that would function for the end user using, like a cell phone to do that. So we're gonna dig into that a little bit more, but that might be a viable option in addition to or instead of having multiple multiple pages in a PDF. And yes, so when he said that, I brought up the accessibility from a smartphone, that's something that is important to us, I believe. I took that away from the meeting. And that we would be able to use a QR code at the trailhead to pull it up, which is a very easy thing to be able to accomplish, so very doable. Especially if it's a QR code that leads to like a PDF or something like that, like that's very, very simple.
So something to keep in mind as we collect data would be to keep the georeferences, because you could georeference the maps so that when somebody brings it up, if their phone is able to do it, it would go right into the mode and it would bring you up oriented to the map, it'll show you where you are.
Geo-reference. Okay.
Geo-referencing,
Via a QR code or just based on location?
it's based on the information you're collecting. So when you gather a point, 2 points, georeferencing ties that to the world map, basically, and so, it's hard to explain.
Okay.
But when it's working, it's, it's really cool. Some of the bigger areas like Disney and stuff like that do that kind of work, so that when you bring up the property map, your program may go into, your browser, and just like your driving app, when you drive and you ask it to take you to a destination, and how that map turns and orients as you're going, that's all georeference mapping.
Okay.
So it'd be cool if we can do that. I don't know what level it takes to make that
I
happen.
see. So you're imagining that the user, right, the piker is looking on their phone at the map and it's moving much the same way that like
Right.
Google Maps
As you're
would.
walking along,
you
you
can
come to
tell
an
where you are.
intersection
Yeah.
and it would show you
Yeah.
that you're at a T
You can
intersection.
always know
Yeah.
where you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Yeah.
If we can do it. It may
Okay.
be, the technology is available, I don't know what the
Yeah,
costs are.
right. Yeah,
Two separate things.
okay.
But as we collect data, we should keep that in mind. That's
Yeah.
that- Keep those points.
All right, I'll put that note in. And then I just told him these other, pretty simple notes about keeping the trail color yellow and adding a key and those kinds of things. And that's it for his feedback on your feedback of the trail maps. And now I got more feedback to bring back to him, and we do have another meeting scheduled for next Thursday. So that is moving right along there. Okay, so the trail planning at Corneliuson. So as Bob mentioned, we went out there. I feel like we have a really good plan to bring to the volunteers who have, this is going to be a training session for them basically, and we have some smaller, I would say, like projects toward the English Range side of the trail that they can sort of practice on, and that Bob can, train them on how to maintain the trail on that side of things. And then once they have a good working knowledge of that, there's a much bigger project of relocating the trail at the Holiday Ave side, which we found out is, well, it's a stream, but it doesn't appear to be vernal, right? Like it's
been either back when it was logged or intentionally by Public Works, because the water was draining down onto the road. They really enhanced the ditch and everything, and they took all the material and put it up, so it's kind of forever a brook now. And at least after every rain, you would have a flowing brook. So if we just go up on the bank and go through and level the area, using the material they removed, we can build a pretty good surface there. But it's much more in-depth than starting down at the lower end. There, we can drain the trail and make it dry so people can enjoy at least that portion.
and that we're looking at one of those weekends that's listed there. May 31st is a Saturday, and then, so those, I think June 15th is Father's Day, so that's why June 15th is not on there. And we would like to know if it's the commission's pleasure to invite DerryCAM to come out to this event. It would require getting the okay from the volunteers who will come out. We want to make sure that they would be comfortable with that. But if that is, a public outreach effort that we would like to make, there's an opportunity for that at this. And the thought was too that since this is going to be a teaching opportunity, right, and Bob's gonna be talking about the trail standards and stuff, then it would be also an opportunity to kind of capture that information. And, yeah, period. So, if y'all would like us to do that, it's something to consider, and I don't know if you'd need to vote on it or what, but it merits discussion, I feel like, before we say, yes, we're gonna do that.
Anybody have any
I think it's a nice idea.
opinions? Yays, nays?
Unless it's too much to try and pack in all at once with the training of the,
Right, we'll
The
start
specific
start
club,
basic,
the trail
very
club.
basic.
yeah.
Yeah, moving the trail will be a much bigger project, but at least then we'll have maybe 3 or 4 that can take apart and have a group of people working with them and do 2 or 3 stations or whatever, so that you're not all piled up on top of each other.
And you have volunteers from the track club, right? That's who your,
Correct.
most
Yep.
of your volunteers are?
Yeah, so there will be 3 to 4 people in addition to myself and Bob, and any of the commissioners who want to participate as well.
And I know Owen has expressed his interest in helping us get our word out. So I, for one, think it's a good idea. Again, you have to check with the volunteers to make sure they're okay with it, or they have their backs turned to the cameras at all times. I'm pretty sure they'll be okay with it. But are there any objections to this at all? No. Okay, so I would
Great.
go ahead and pursue that. Thank you,
All right.
Beth.
Yeah. Okay, and then, so parking, right? I feel like a broken record talking about parking sometimes, but, right, so when Bob and I visited, it's not clear where we were allowed to park, right, on the English
Right.
Range side, right? On the Holiday Ave side, it's a little easier because there's like a paved road there, but on the English Range side, you definitely don't want to park on English Range because that just feels like too
Not
much
on
of a
the road.
throughway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that corridor.
Not sure how wide the right-of-way is to enable us to park either side. The neighbor, very kind, came out to make sure we didn't block the road. And so, both of us were off the road, but I wasn't sure how far off to either side we can park,
Yeah.
so.
My thought was to maybe go out there prior to this event taking place and stake out those boundary lines.
Yep.
I just don't have the skill set
Should-
to
it should
actually
be
do
in the-
that.
yeah, it should be in the deed, for the easement.
Right,
So the
Okay.
difference between the two is we're on an easement on English Range Road, but if we're up on Holiday, we're on town ownership. But then it's a town road, paved town road.
so should we park at Holiday instead, or, because we're working on the English side, English
Kind of, and
Range
it's a
side
long
of the
slog
trail?
up and over the hill into where we're gonna work. In the town deed, or for the easement, it should mention, I'm assuming that it's a deeded right away up to that property.
I would think so, yeah. You have all the easements in your little packet there, right? Have you been able to find that one in there for the easements, or?
What's the question about the easement
The
specifically?
the width of the easement,
The width of the easement?
Oh, no.
You don't have to look it up right now.
Yeah,
but-
it would be
yeah,
easy to find
I
out,
can
yeah.
look with you.
I guess it's just, yeah,
They're usually 50 feet,
okay,
Right.
usually.
okay. I will figure that out, and if I do get caught up on like physically locating it in like actual space, I will reach
Well,
out.
it's usually, they'll reference it 50 feet wide, 25 to either side of the center line of the
road,
existing
right.
road.
Existing road,
That would
okay,
be a typical, it doesn't mean that that's what we got, but that would be a
Okay.
typical description.
That's a normal right-of-way, it's
Right.
25 on either side of the center of the road.
okay, so I can reference the center of the
Yep.
road and that, okay, great, that answers that, I'm very clear then, thank you. And then, Bob and I are going to determine a list of tools that we will need for that event. And I don't know if we need to allocate funds, if we do need to purchase tools before that, or?
To start with, as this project, I'll bring some, and then
Okay.
if people, the members that are gonna join us, key for that we would be working with is gonna be shovel, iron rake, hoe,
Okay,
one or two saws, and a pair of loppers is probably all that we're gonna need.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I have some exciting and unexpected news from Clint Haven. So that puts to bed the trail maintenance at Cornelius. And is there anything else on that before actually I move on?
Any questions?
Okay. So, at the last meeting, I think it was, we talked about the Shepherd parcel. And I didn't show any pictures, no, but basically the entryway that used to be a little parking area what became overgrown with brush, and there was like a little picnic table and a fire pit or cooking area, yeah. And Clinton Haven sent from DPW sent a crew over there and cleared it already. So they've cleared a bunch of the brush and like trees out of the way. So I really wanted to get there today to see it with my own eyeballs, but I did not. But if you're driving down Pond Road that way, that entrance to Shepherd Park should be cleared now. So that's pretty exciting progress. And then in regard to the community fire protection plan, I did hear back from Mike Fowler, and for now it's going to be the Derry Fire Department and Conservation, so both of those entities, and he did say to keep him in the loop so that, you know, if there's anything where another, you know, resource in town would want to get involved. So it sounds like the town's on board, right, and whatever resources are make sense for this project are going to be prioritized. And then I had this in my calendar that the results from that water quality study were going to come in at the end of April, but I hadn't heard anything about it, so I want to follow up. I don't need to have anything on it. I can just add it to my calendar to recheck on later, because I think Ricardo was doing or working with Mike on that, the water quality study at Hood Pond. I'm looking at you, Rick, because I'm not sure if you...
Well, the town has done studies over there in the past because the town is scheduled to spend quite a bit of money to update the recreation area over there. And we, yeah, Hood Pond. And the problem Mike has run into with that water source, now when I was a kid, that's where we learned how to swim. Unfortunately, there has now been so much development that drains into Hood Pond that it's not swimmable. And it would take several $1 million from Mike's conversation I had with Mike Fowler a few years ago. It would take several $1 million to make that usable as a swimming
Wow.
facility. You can boat on it, you can kayak, you can do all those kind of things. I don't know what kind of fish would be in there, unless it's stocked by the state. I know they do that for the fishing derby. But I think that would be a major undertaking. And I know they've had past studies, so you might be able to ask the water department what they have on record for that. So you don't have to wait, but that's the history that I've gone through with Mike, because our Rotary Club had done a lot of work down there in previous decades with the tennis courts and some activities and all that kind of stuff, in hopes that it could be used again as a major recreation area. But now the town is going to put quite a few $100,000 into it. And I would like to see it be able to swim again, because a lot of us that grew up there, that's where the Red Cross did their swimming programs and the lifeguard programs and all of that. So it'd be nice to make it usable again. It might not be economically feasible.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, when I first moved here, I used to swim in that pond. I mean,
That was like the tail end of the
yeah.
usable
yeah.
part.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And then I know, so we don't have a chair for the reporting compliance committee yet. And I went on to try to do the reporting for LCHIP, which is now like open and available, for us to do. I don't recall the due date, but I have it in my calendar. Oh, sorry. But I need like an EIN to fill out the stuff.
Report.
Yeah, to be able
Yep.
to get, just to even create a new account for myself and like for the land manager email address. So I don't know who to reach out to for help with like just creating the account and like all the information that is
So
contained.
I would imagine if you call LCHIP directly, that they will help you with the forms and filling out. The only thing they may want to see is a sign off by the town that she's acting as our authorized
Right.
agent.
Authorized representative, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay, I will contact LCHIP. Great. I thought I had an email written to them today, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna check with the commission before I reach out to them. Okay,
Hit the send button
yeah,
later.
perfect, it's already done, there we go. Okay, so for public outreach, we actually have a volunteer here who would like to introduce himself. So I'm gonna save the gathering info about being a land steward just for the end so that I can step back and he can step up. But I mentioned that we now have access to edit our public-facing pages on the commission site. And we did hear back from a couple of representatives from the other conservation, from Hampstead and Wyndham Conservation Commissions. And I didn't know if maybe, because I've corresponded with them, but I didn't know if maybe a commissioner would want to like reach out and talk to them about what they did with the trail maintenance stuff. I'm happy to continue, but something just sort of rang a bell in my mind of like commissioner to commissioner.
I'd be happy to do
Yeah,
that.
okay, I will send that to you then.
Yep.
Great.
That's fine, thank you, Elaine.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, and then I know social media has been mentioned as something that we want to get on. I sent an email to both Rick and Grace late today, so I don't even know if you had a chance to read it yet, but basically, the town does have regulations on using social media, which if this would work, then you can see. I don't need to read it to you, but basically, just so you know that it exists, and we would need like involvement from the town IT department to go about, I believe, based on reading this, that we need to involve the IT department to create a social media page. And I am of the opinion that a better use of our time right now may be developing an email list first before we dive into social media, because social media can be kind of a big black hole of time, potentially, with potentially very small returns. And I am not an expert in social media, so that might mean that we're on the lower end of our returns on investment for social media. But with an email list, we can engage the people who have already engaged with us more easily, and just sort of put, all of those volunteers who have raised their hand to say, can we help you with trail maintenance, right? We can get them on an email list and just say, come to, we're doing a trail, we're doing an event today. If you want to
Would it
come.
be like a
come.
listserv or just an email?
So that's the thing is, I know that it is illegal to market and sell just with like your regular email address, right? So like if I had just like a Word doc with everybody's email address and I just BCC'd everybody with the information, I'm not selling anything, right? Like we're not selling anything, we're a public entity, so I'm not 100% sure what the regulations would be on that. But there are you can get a free version of like a MailChimp because we're a government entity, like they have, like for nonprofits, you don't have to pay for it necessarily, but also we would be starting with such a small number of emails that would tend to be free right from the get-go anyway. So I would like to start pursuing that as like our first, but I want to, it would involve like creating an account, and I would want to make sure that I'm checking in with the IT department of the town to make sure that that's okay, and just like make sure that all of that is squared away and kosher. Yeah, yeah.
Has to be secure and all that. Have to do
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, something that we found out, so you start building a list, and you end up with 50 people, and you send a note out to them, hey, we're gonna be doing work over the weekend. Some people don't appreciate having their emails sent to all the other people.
Yes.
And that the best way that I found of doing it is to create your own list. And when you get ready to send the message, you blind copy the list. And that way, nobody gets
Nobody gets
the
all
other
those
addresses, but everybody gets copied.
Yes.
They don't
would-
start
Okay, I
marketing.
You had
to
mentioned
the-
that with BCC, so.
So that's the gray area, right? Is that, well, it could be a legal gray area, right? To have a consistent list of emails that you're sending information to, right? So you can BCC a list of people as like a one-off thing, and then that's perfectly fine.
Right.
But if you have the same list of people that you're consistently sending to,
Yes.
that falls, there are laws about that, right? That like you have to be using, because they have to be able to unsubscribe. They have to be able to say like, hey, I don't want you to email me anymore. And so that's where you would use a service like a MailChimp or Constant Contact or something like that.
Maybe worth finding out how the town handles it. if
I
they have-
asked and they don't do anything
They
like
don't know
that.
anything.
Doesn't
Okay,
the
all
planning
right.
department use
Yeah.
MailChimp? I think they do sometimes for surveys. I think I've seen.
Oh,
them. Yeah. I think
maybe
they've
with
used it in
planning.
the past for like, when they were updating the master plan, for instance.
Okay,
Yeah, because
They
they,
had some MailChimp
they
surveys.
and Bev and the Economic Development Department do those kind of things.
okay,
I
I
know
will
Bev has
ask.
done surveys with the Economic Development.
Okay, good to know. I had brought that up to Doug Rathburn, and he had said that he didn't think that there was anything like that, so that's That's
Check
why-
with
but
Liz
yeah,
from the
yeah, I'll
planning
check with planning.
department, and, yeah,
Okay.
that's another good suggestion.
I get
Economic
emails from the town all the time.
Oh.
From water closings, water treatments going on,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just all kinds of, nothing exciting, but.
good to know.
but
Okay,
I mean,
great.
they're doing something to communicate with people
Yeah.
who
They are.
sign up to
Well then,
receive it.
Well, yeah, because they're all customers and they have to know
right,
sewer, water.
Yeah,
They have to have those lists to notify
Yeah.
people. It's not like they sit and plug each one in.
yeah.
right.
I have a well.
I get
but-
those ones.
so-
too.
And
Yeah.
maybe we just
You
have to
can
create
choose
an
what-
account
You can
for
choose which ones you want to
Concom.
receive, too.
Yeah, I
You
don't
can
know what
just-
I'm getting anymore.
You know?
I
I
would-
signed up a long time ago.
I would think once the website has been developed, say with the ability to edit it, that you could have contact information, be able to become a contact for a newsletter or notifications. I could see that. I would love to have the copy of that, the town rules about social media.
Okay, you want me to send that to you?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's in the report, and you can click it, but I'll also send it to your email.
Okay.
Okay, so I will look into how the town does email then. Great. And, this is not, because I was reviewing our meetings and the deer ladder, I don't know if that was ever resolved, and Bob and I did double check the metal one that was at Corneliuson, and there is no identification, there's no tag identifying the owner, which means that complying with the regulation. So
The only concern, like I told you, was the deer stand, like the ladder comes down on the stone wall, and it's up on the tree, which is on our side of the stone wall. But they could have gone to Farmer Fred and asked him for permission because it looks out over the deer field, and they may be assuming, hey, I have permission to be there, but in actuality, they're over the boundary line.
But even if they had permission, the regulations state that they have to have a tag, like, so that they can be contacted about it. So, I don't know which meeting it was, but, our chair said that, our new secretary would be sending those kind of communications out about that, and so I just wanted to check on that since I was,
Well, those would go to Fish and Game, right? Any violations like the,
Yeah,
when we walk the Jewel Lane property, there's a deer stand and there's other stuff that's going on that shouldn't be going on, so. And that was Fish and Game's purview, I guess, so.
okay. And then that just entails Jay sending an email to Fish and Game about it? Okay. And then Jay, if you need any details about it or pictures or anything like that, I have those, so,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so that's it. So, information about becoming a land steward, just real briefly, reached out to several people today, one with, Southeast Land Trust. I reached out to Margie Ives, and had a nice conversation with her. And she suggested reaching out to Liz Robideau, actually, in planning, and that she used to, like, have that information on how we do trainings. But there's also the trainings that Eileen shared on, there was one on conservation easement monitoring.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
And I don't know if that's appropriate for a land steward to attend, or if I should attend
No,
any
I
of
think it'd be more
these.
appropriate for you.
Okay, okay, so,
And then you could do, you could really do train the trainer with them
Yeah.
if you want them to get involved with that.
okay. So then how should I go about, as far as like those trainings? I'm happy to do all of them if you would, if you would like me to do that. But, as far as like those trainings, whose call is that to say like, yes, go to this one or whatever, or should I just like bring it to the commission like this and you vote on it? I don't know what the
You bring it to
process
the
is, I
commission
guess.
to vote on it.
Yeah, okay. So, would you like me to attend any of those trainings, and do you want to vote on them because they're coming up before we meet again next?
Two of the ones I mentioned are Zoom meetings, Zoom training. There's one that's in person. I don't remember if it's the easement one or the
That's the compass. That's the like learn how to use a compass
Yeah.
thing, I think, yeah.
I would say go ahead and attend what you think you need to
Okay.
attend, if you will. But again, that's just my opinion. I put it to anybody else to object or have an opinion or input on.
She should.
There
Okay.
wasn't a price on those, was there?
I didn't
think-
see any.
Yeah.
I think,
didn't see any.
one of the three that were mentioned, I think, I don't have it in front of me, but just glancing at it quick, I think I saw one was $20, one was $25, and one was free.
Yeah, any of them that have a cost to them, we'll need to take a
Yeah.
vote on.
Yeah.
To
Okay.
reimburse you for the cost.
Yeah. So do you, again, since they're happening prior, let me see
Right.
if I can
The-
pull it up real quick,
the-
just since they're happening before we meet next.
Yeah,
we
the
probably
prime
wanna vote on
wetlands is
that
June
now.
21st, and registration's not open, so that's,
It's not
That's-
open yet?
no.
Yeah.
Okay, I
registration's not
actually,
open yet.
I have it right here, and you know what? Here, let me see if I can just pull it up so that you can look at it with me.
Conservation easements.
Oh, can I make this
All right.
big?
Conservation easement says it's free.
Yeah, so, okay, so this one, Conservation Easements 101, so that's free, and that's via Zoom, so that feels like a no-brainer to me.
Map and compass is 25.
And that was actually specifically mentioned in the land steward in the book that I just pulled from the files that you were looking through, Grace, that's the one that they like specifically mentioned as like, oh, like get your training at our annual map and compass training. So that one I feel is a knowledge gap for me that I would really like to fill.
Close, right?
Yeah.
Are you
Oh,
able to make that
You really learn a
one?
lot. I mean, these are good. these are
That
really
is May 30th is a Friday at 10 a.m. That is when the garden is being tilled.
good. Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah, but it's in Concord, which is about an hour away, and Noah's gonna be there at 8 a.m. So
Oh,
I think that's, I mean,
it's gonna be tight,
I
right?
could be there at the beginning to just square things away with him and then be on my way. So I mean, it's feasible, it's doable. I'm happy to do that. I feel like it's important. And that I could do that. If that's the one, that's $25.
Or could he come a different day, or is it really locked in for me?
I really don't think that at this point, because we've had to delay, I wouldn't want to have to delay again, unless he can do it.
Unless you guys
I'm
end up with
laughing
really
because I've
bad
called
weather
him
again.
probably, you know, like more times than his best friend at this point. Like, but I do think that that would be, I don't know, unless you don't think that I should be leaving while he is actively tilling. Try and reschedule.
Reschedule him?
I mean, can't reschedule the workshop, so,
Yeah, no, you can't.
You
yeah.
need to go to the workshop. I mean, maybe one of us could, you know, maybe watch what he's doing. If
Okay,
we need to.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, if you're gonna get him started, one of us can be just a babysitter. I mean,
okay.
it's not-
I can be there from 8 to 9.
And is the check gonna be given after that, or is
It
he
is,
gonna-
that part is all squared away, yep.
Okay.
He's gonna email me an invoice,
give-
Okay.
and Sheila's gonna
Perfect.
pay him, yep,
Yeah,
So
to
that's
me,
not
okay.
that's not an issue for that.
okay.
I would say if you can do it, I'll check my calendar. I think, yeah, my problem is I'm here at Town Hall with my food truck at 11:30, so 10:30. So for me, it would be kind of tough.
I can check my calendar as well, Beth,
Okay.
and see if I could do it.
I knew
Great.
the 30th was in my head for some reason.
Okay, and then Eileen, maybe, well, we'll talk
Would you be
later about the
available
brush
Tuesday or
hogging
not?
thing.
I won't until later, like noon, 1 p.m.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
definitely will go by to see
Okay.
what happened.
Okay,
And I won't know until the last minute whether I'm available or
Okay,
not.
so
Where
I'll
you-
check
where you
my
going for the
calendar,
day?
Beth,
Okay.
and I'll get back to you when I get home. I'll
Sounds good.
check it.
Well, let's,
all right, well, I'll just take it upon myself to make sure that I have coverage after 9 a.m. on that day, and I'll reach out to all of you to see who will be able to do that, okay.
so were you planning on attending the other one, conservation easement monitoring, or?
So this one is on a Wednesday, and I am fully
Well, that's
booked every Wednesday, June through September, for the
Good.
farmer's market.
So am
Opening
I.
day, June 4th.
So am I at the Londonderry Concerts on the Common.
Oh, my goodness.
anyway.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Aw, so you're gonna miss all the markets. So this one, though, I would like to, if they have a recording of it, right, if they're gonna provide, because it's a Zoom meeting, if they're gonna provide a recording of it after the fact, then I don't see why I couldn't do this one as well.
But would they still want the $20?
Say that again?
Would they still want the $20?
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Probably.
It would go to the.
They're doing good work.
Read it.
Give them the
It says
20.
It goes to
Includes
whoever
optional field
attended.
sessions,
Oh, okay.
that's why.
Okay. Oh, so does that mean you only have to pay the 20 if you use the optional field sessions?
It seems that that's what it's saying.
Okay.
Sure.
Fee is charged for this extension program to cover costs.
But you could contact Charlotte for more information.
Okay.
So you might want to call her and ask.
Okay, yeah, okay,
But
will
at
do.
least,
Charlotte's at the UNH Field Extension.
Okay.
So you can
And then these are the optional field sessions, which are not on that Wednesday, so I'm happy to, you know, attend one of these as well, or I can get, when are those? Those are after,
Deerfield
those are
would be the
after our
closest
next,
For you, right?
huh?
Deerfield would be the closest for you.
Yeah.
You don't need to attend all of those, just one of them.
No, just, I think that they're all the same
Yeah.
session, but it's just
just
different
geographic
locations.
different, yeah,
spots,
yeah, exactly. So since these field sessions are after our next meeting, I can contact Charlotte for more information.
you can.
And then get back to you guys on whether we should do that one as well.
So we would need to approve at least 25, right, for the compass training?
Is this, when's our next meeting? Is it June 2nd?
June,
I think the compass was 25.
yeah, the compass was 25. I have meeting dates here.
I can never find my mouse when I'm using this.
Yeah, June 2nd,
Okay.
June 2nd?
because then we go to once a month, June, July, August.
Okay, so then I will, okay, so I'll get more information about this one and bring it to the June 2nd meeting. And then you would just need to vote on the $25 cost for this one on May 30th. And this one's free. And then
We'll worry about the 4th on the 2nd.
yes, correct.
So I'll entertain a motion
The
to
30th.
allow Elizabeth to register for map and compass training in the amount of $25.
I'll make that motion.
So moved? Second?
Second.
They moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, so you're okay. You're all set with that one.
Great.
And
Okay,
when you register, Beth, just get the receipts and,
Yep.
bring it to us so that we can get you reimbursed.
all right.
Thank
Will
you.
do. All right, and then without further ado, that is all I think really that I have for you right now. Before I step away, are there any questions, comments, concerns?
Anybody?
Really busy.
Yeah.
Great.
I will say for the, maybe like the last week of May and the first couple weeks of June, I'm going to be slowing down just a little bit while the farmer's market ramps up. So I'll be doing, 5 to 10 instead of 10 to 17. So, all right. There we go. And
Thank you, Beth.
thank you.
Good evening.
Hi,
Hey, Kevin.
thank you, Elizabeth, for
Yeah.
giving me the time to speak today. And thank you all for your diligence in conserving the land here in Derry, this beautiful place that we live in here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I am Kevin Sadler, Sadler, and I live in 17 Drew Road in Derry.
Thank you.
I've been a resident here for 2 years, so not a very long time, but long enough. So I grew up in New Hampshire, and I went to the University of New Hampshire, class of 2010. There I took courses in sustainable agriculture and plant biology. So I have a little bit of knowledge in planting, gardening, forestry, and things of that nature. I'm a father of 7-year-old daughter that's in dairy school, and my wife is due in June as well, so
Congratulations.
Congrats.
looking forward to my next
Kevin.
daughter. Yep. And I am a nature enthusiast. I enjoy hiking and biking, and a few weeks ago I went into the woods at Drew Woods and noticed a few concerning things there, and I feel that maybe need some help to help manage and volunteer. I was interested in just volunteering to provide an extra set of hands to help out there and
Great.
see if we can beautify that piece of land there, because it's really a beautiful spot, and I would like to see what I can do to contribute my efforts there.
Yeah, we would love to have you volunteer, especially with your background. That's great.
Yeah.
right.
I don't have that background.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you now, you have the land manager or the land
Land
land steward guidelines from the state, or where did you get those from? Or are you still working on that?
Still working on that.
Okay.
Yep,
Right.
so, you can be a guinea pig for our,
Okay.
you know, for getting kind of our official processes, in
original
place, I
Frankenstein?
think, yeah, yeah.
And I know through our emails, you have one or two other interested parties, am I correct or incorrect?
Correct, yep,
Okay, good.
Yep.
So the more the merrier. I think the word, the public outreach is hopefully gonna, once we get it pushing away, it's gonna take care of itself. I think that if you have a group like the Garden Club and you have residents that are interested, and now they're gonna start, hopefully, not coming out of the woodwork bigly, but a few at a time to help, so. Because it is, a lot of it's volunteer. I mean, we're all volunteers. You are our first paid employee.
yes,
Well, I'm
but,
sorry, Tammy is our first paid employee. But it's nice to have you and your enthusiasm, and I think that's what the town needs, is a little
Yeah.
bit of enthusiasm.
and I volunteered, I mean, I've been volunteering in
Yeah.
Derry
Right,
for 10
right,
years, so, you know.
Now you finally get a paid
Yeah,
gig.
I know.
So a suggestion would be call Society for Protection of New Hampshire Forests, because they have a full stewardship program.
Fabulous.
that- So
What was the name of that again, just so I can spell it correctly?
Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests.
Society,
Or
okay.
SPNF, everybody,
SPNF, right. Everyone
SPNHF.
calls it
Oh,
Spinif.
great. I was Googling, or I was chat GPTing today, and that's where it sent me, actually. It was what
Yeah.
you just said, so
So
perfect.
that's,
Is that in Rye or Northampton there?
I'm not sure who to ask. Just call. They'll
Yeah.
put you through to
Okay.
who you need to talk to.
Sounds great.
Okay? Thank you, sir, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Wish you luck.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Any other update of any other activities that we're engaged in right now?
I just wanted to report that I did get to go to a workshop on Wednesday, the 14th, up in Nottingham. And it was on native plants. It was on a beautiful farm. The woman who owned the farm has restored it from a very wrecked position that allowed her to actually afford it, and has slowly built the land up. And she specializes in native plants, but also in permaculture. So we got an earful of both topics, and I would like to share it more extensively in the upcoming meetings. And I took a lot of pictures and took a lot of notes. So I'd like to put it together and have a little presentation. I think you would enjoy it.
That's awesome. I was sorry that I couldn't go. I wanted to go.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was great. And she fed us very nicely, too.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
All
Permaculture
right.
folks know how to eat.
So follow up with Rick, and I'll make a note here that you want to do some presentations
Okay.
in future meetings. Thank you, Jay, for doing that. Anybody else? Any other business?
Can we vote on that receipt
Oh,
from
yeah.
her? Because it went over 70?
Okay, we approved $70. Beth spent $72.36, so I'll need a motion to expend another $2.36 for stakes and string for the community garden. Bob made the motion. Could I get a second?
Second?
Second by Grace. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Yeah, abstentions. It's been a while.
Extensions.
Hearing none? She's good.
Thank you so much.
Any other business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
So moved. Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. We're adjourned.
8:15, time out.
Timed out.